Yeah.
Good evening. Welcome to this meeting of Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. The council meets here in City Hall on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. Please note that council meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, are also available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now we'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge to the flag, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As a courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any other devices you might have with you that might otherwise go off the short meeting. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet the council will review are available online on the city's website. Copies of the agenda are here in the room, front of the room for anybody who is present here. We usually begin our meetings with any presentations that are on the schedule, and one thing that was always on our agenda is a presentation from McDaniel College. Since Dr. Julia Jaskin took office as president of the college, she made the commitment to us that she would send a member of her senior staff to the council meetings at every meeting to share what news of what's happening up on the Hill and to take back to the college community news of what's happening here in the city. We're pleased to have with us tonight Dean Vicki Mazur, the Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies. Dean Mazur, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, and I'm happy to be here to make a short report on some of the happenings that are going on up on the Hill. We have, as you know, embarked on a strategic plan, and one of the major initiatives of that strategic plan is to look at new programs. And those new programs that we started to begin to look at several years ago are coming to fruition, and we'd like to just inform you that we have 4 new programs that are going to be coming on board. One is an early childhood education program that will begin in the fall of 2024. The second is a Bachelor of Science in Nursing program that will begin in the fall of 2024. The third is a Master of Science in Occupational Therapy that is slated to begin in the summer of 2026. And the fourth is a Master of Science in Special English Pathology slated to begin in the spring of 2027. All 4 programs have made it through state approval at the Maryland Higher Education Commission level. And we are beginning to work at implementation planning as part of that is my being here to communicate with the community as well about our plans moving forward. All of these programs were developed through a process where we identified need both across the state of Maryland and here in our own region and in our local community, particularly those who are in healthcare related to workforce shortages that we're experiencing nationally, and of course, hitting here in our own local community. So we're happy to report that, and if you have any questions, there'll be more information coming out, of course, as those programs are implemented, but I'm happy to ask any questions.
All right, very good. Thank you, Dean Mazur. Any questions for Dean Mazur? Well, thank you once again. Please, again, thanks Dr. Jaskin for the continued cooperation. Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have minutes of the meeting of the Mayor and Common Council on January 8th, from the work session on January 16th, from the regular meeting on January 22nd, and from the work session on January 22nd. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? To approve, Mr. President. We have a motion by Mr. Cavacci and a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. Consent calendar. We have one item on the consent calendar this evening. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar, Mr. President.
Been a motion by Mr. Hoff and a second by Mr. Cavacci to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. Consent calendar. Committee appointments. We have two appointments from the mayor this evening. And let the mayor discuss them with us. Dr. Becker?
Sure. So there are two appointments this evening to the Board of Elections. Mr. Robert Peoples served on the Board of Elections during the last election cycle 2 years ago. And he will be reappointed to that, hopefully this evening. And then Mrs. McGuire served as an election judge during the last election cycle. And I sent her information out to the council earlier or later last week. Everyone seemed to be in agreement that she was a good fit for the Board of Elections Committee. And so those are the two appointments that are in front of you this evening.
All right, thank you, Dr. Becker. You've all received the information packet on Mr. Peoples and Ms. McGuire. May I have a motion to confirm the mayor's appointment?
I'll move to confirm, Mr. President.
We have a motion by Mr. Cavacci. Is there a second?
Second.
The second by Ms. Gilbert. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the appointments are confirmed. Thank you, Dr. Becker. Now it's time for the report from the mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I don't have much this evening. First, I would like to thank the council for the action they just took in approving the two appointments to the Board of Elections. As you know, we appoint this election or this Board of Election a year before the next election. And the next election for the city will be in May 2025. Since our last meeting, we met 3 weeks ago. It's been busy. I, along with most of the council, attended the Carroll County Commissioners Open House at the county office building on January 23rd, where we met and networked with local business owners and other elected officials. Outside of the meeting with the commissioners, I've attended as a city liaison to Magic, their board meeting during the last 2 weeks, and then also spent the evening of the 25th of January with the Orioles Birdland Caravan event that landed at Wise Markets for a couple hours, which was really enjoyable. As well as numerous meetings with other downtown organizations and residents, which has kept me a little busy over the last couple of weeks. I also wanted to report that I worked with Aaron Benevito at McDaniel College to supply a letter of welcome to prospective and incoming students and families, introducing them to downtown Westminster and providing a warm welcome. And this came about from the council meeting, our last council meeting we had, where Heidi Regal spoke about the prospective student events and the incoming student events and on the weekends. And I contacted Aaron after that meeting and suggested that as mayor, I was more than happy to write a letter to include in the packets to the families that were coming that weekend to welcome them to McDaniel from the city itself. And so that I know was going out, I think it went out last weekend. There was an undergraduate, it was students who had already been accepted. That's right. I think that was included in last weekend and will be included in other packets going out. So, and that sums up my report.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Becker. We're now to reports from the council committees and liaisons. Usually we begin with the Carroll County Arts Council, but Representative there, Mr. Dayhoff, is with us this evening. Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Hoff.
Nothing to report this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hoff. Finance Committee, I will report that we are in discussions with the staff about the budget and the schedule for our budget meetings for the Finance Committee, as well as for the work sessions with the council. We'll be sharing all of that. If you haven't already gotten it, I think very soon, to make sure you all can get that on your schedule. But we are moving along with that and look forward to another balanced budget this year. Looking at that, on the Personnel Committee, I have nothing to report on that. Public Safety Committee, Mr. Cavacci.
Thank you, Mr. President. On January 30th, officers of Patrol Squad B located and apprehended 3 individuals who are from New York and Florida who had just committed an organized theft involving a large quantity of skincare products at the Ulta Beauty store on Clifton Boulevard. Chief, compliments again. You know, it seems like you guys for the past year or two have busted up a number of these rings that are in other communities doing this. And I don't know if they just don't care or they're just not as good as your guys, but this seems to be what, third, fourth, maybe fifth time in the past year or two that you've caught one of these rings and actually made apprehensions. So congratulations. Please pass on to the guys. That's a great job and we're very appreciative.
Well, thank you.
On February 9th, new lateral police officer Jared Horvath completed his 5-week Maryland Comparative Compliance Training at the Maryland Police Training Commission Center. Officer Horvath will now begin his field training before being assigned to work solo on Patrol Bureau. Officer Horvath brings 7 years of municipal policing experience with him, which is wonderful. And then more good news on the personnel front in the police department on February 9th. Maryland Certified Police Officer Jeffrey Fabry accepted a job officer. Officer Fabry will start with the Westminster Police Department on February 27th. He brings 7 years of Maryland municipal policing experience with him. So great job. Starting to fill up a little bit. And we've got how many still in the academy?
We have a total of 4 police recruits.
And how far along are they at this point?
The ones in the Sheriff's Office Academy graduate March 28th, and then the one in Frederick's Academy graduates May the 7th, I believe.
Outstanding. Thank you, Chief. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Public Works, Ms. Gilbert.
Yes, I have a couple things. Solar powered crosswalk enhancement project for East Main Street and West Main Street and Pennsylvania Avenue has began. The enhancements at the crosswalks consist of a push button activated flashing LED light bar, a spotlight to illuminate the crosswalk at night. So hopefully that will create a much more safer environment crossing the street. There will be 14 total crosswalks being upgraded over the next couple weeks. And the project everyone knows about is the Main Street Water Main project has resumed. A total of 5 isolation valves were installed in the overnight hours of Thursday, February 8th. These valves were installed for more control of water shutoff and less outage time for the remaining of the project. And that is all I have for Public Works at this moment.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. And can you please also give us a report for Recreation and Parks?
Yeah, I'll keep going. The Recreation and Parks Department's adaptive recreation program continues to gain in popularity. On Saturday, January 20th, approximately 30 people attended the Winter Ball. The next event held was on Saturday, February 3rd, was a Valentine's Day themed brunch entitled Besties and Brunch. The event sold out at capacity with 25 people attending. Besties and Brunch provided attendees and their caregivers time to socialize while creating fun Valentine's Day decor and enjoying delicious pancakes, complete with a toppings bar. The next event scheduled for March 22nd is a karaoke party. Registration is open now and going well. That the second session has now been added. And summer camp registration opened February 5th. Currently, all 11 weeks of summer camp are almost half full. So we'll have more shortly for employment for summer camp and all the pool jobs that are going to be coming around the corner, but that's all I have for Parks and Rec at the moment.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. And for the Technology Committee, once again, Mr. Greenhoff is not here. This evening, move on now to council comments and discussion. This is the time when council members have the opportunity to share their thoughts or concerns or information on items that are not elsewhere on the agenda. Begin with Mr. Kavachi.
I have nothing, Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. Kavachi. Ms. Gilbert.
I have nothing. The mayor already spoke about the Commissioners Open House, which was absolutely a great event. Great networking, and it was just great to talk to everyone. Outside of that, I don't have any other comments.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Hoff.
I have nothing this evening.
All right, thanks. Anything else? Move right along. Ordinances and resolutions. 3 items under ordinances and resolutions. First, introduction of ordinance number 2024-01, public right-of-way abandonment. An ordinance of the mayor and common council of Westminster vacating, abandoning, and closing 2 platted but unconstructed rights of way extending generally northeast from Tuck Road in the vicinity of its intersection with Longwell Avenue, and authorizing the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed reflecting said abandonment in favor of the Carroll County Board of Education. Mr. Dino.
Thank you and good evening. On January seventh, 2021, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved site plan S 2023 for the new East Middle School. The entire school site, as outlined in the staff report, contains multiple parcels, which include areas previously dedicated for future public roadways or rights-of-way. To accomplish the redevelopment of the property for the new school, required work to be done within these rights-of-way, and as a condition of approval of the site plan, require that the multiple parcels be consolidated into a single parcel. The applicant or the Board of Education has submitted a consolidation plat to create the one parcel. However, two of the rights-of-way are currently owned by the city, and the plat cannot be processed until the Mayor and Common Council approve conveyance of its interest in the rights-of-way. At the time of the rights-of-way to be abandoned or conveyed were dedicated to the city, the intent was to extend certain city roadways to the northeast. However, with the construction of Baltimore Boulevard, such roadway extension is no longer viable. Furthermore, as depicted in the staff report and site plan S 2123, steep slopes existed within the subject rights-of-way prior to development of East Middle School, and then these steep slopes were extended with a gradient development of the East Middle School due to the constraints of building the new school while maintaining the old school on site until such time it could be demolished. The steep slopes were existing and approved, make it difficult to impossible to extend the city roadway within these rights-of-way. In addition, there are no properties other than the East Middle School that would benefit from extending the city roadways within the rights-of-way, which they are not looking to accomplish at any time. With that, staff recommends that the Mayor and Common Council introduce ordinance number 2024-01 for the conveyance of its interest in real property and refer ordinance number 2024-01 to a future Mayor and Common Council meeting for approval. And that completes my report. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Mr. Depot. Let's get a motion on this. May I have a motion on introduction?
I'll move to introduce, Mr. President. I'll second.
A motion to introduce ordinance number 2024 by Mr. Kavachi, second by Mr. Hoff. Are there any questions for Mr. Depot or any discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Kavachi.
considering they just finished paving and installing 6 basketball courts exactly where this roadway is, I would be quite upset with this. So I think this is a good move.
We want you to use the basketball courts, Mr. Kavachi.
Just if I wanted to scale the fence, I could.
They've already put them in, I just saw them.
They just paved them.
Right.
Yeah.
Alright, well,
Anyone
I
else?
guess we'll do it then.
Right. Very good. All right, so hearing no further discussion, we're on to a vote. All those in favor, and this is just for introduction. Approval will come later. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. And we will bring this back at the appropriate time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome. Next item is introduction of ordinance number 2024-02, MUI BCC DB and CB uses text amendment. An ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster, amending chapter 164, zoning and subdivision of land of the Code of the City of Westminster to amend Article 7A MUI mixed use infill zone, section 164-39.2, Article 8, the business zone, section 164-41, Article 8A CC Central Commerce Zone, section 164-45.2, Article 8B DB Downtown Business Zone, section 164-45.8, and Article 9 CB Central Business Zone, section 164-47, to amend existing permitted uses, delete existing uses, and add new permitted uses. Mr. Depot.
Thank you. On January 16th, 2024, the owners of a proposed bookstore contacted Community Plan Development regarding their wish to operate a bookstore use at 19 Liberty Street. The property is zoned CB Central Business Zone. Currently, bookstores is identified as a permitted use only in the mixed-use infill zone and the NC Neighborhood Commercial Zone. However, bookstore is not listed as a permitted use in the CB zone. Standard zoning administrative practice requires that if a use is specifically listed in the zoning ordinance, such as bookstore, as it's listed in the city zoning ordinance, as an allowed use in the mixed-use infill zone and the NC Neighborhood Commercial Zone, then that use must also be listed in the zoning ordinance in the zoning district in which the use is proposed to be commenced. in this case, the CB Central Business Zone. Furthermore, the zoning administrator does not have the authority to add a new use to a zoning district or to determine that two distinct uses listed in the zoning ordinance are the same use, such as bookstore being a gift and jewelry shop. So therefore, to add a new use in the zoning district requires a text amendment by the mayor and common council. In lieu of the bookstore submitting the text amendment application, city administration and community planning development staff introduced the concept of amending the zoning ordinance to allow bookstore in the downtown zoning districts to the mayor and common council at its January 22nd, 2024 work session. While working on the bookstore text amendment, city administration and community planning development began researching uses permitted in the downtown zoning districts and B business zone. Staff has identified several uses that should be amended, deleted, or added as part of the initial bookstore text amendment in an effort to alleviate future downtown use issues similar to the bookstore use and the recent art gallery studio use. Zoning administration notes that bookstores does not include an adult bookstore, as an adult bookstore is an adult entertainment activity use. Staff recommends that the proposed ordinance 2402 be introduced for consideration by the mayor and common council and be referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its review and recommendation to the mayor and common council. That completes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion for the introduction of ordinance number 2024-02.
Second.
All right, thank you. There's been a motion by Mr. Hoff and a second by Mr. Kavachi. Any questions for Mr. Depot or any discussion? Mr. Hoff?
Council President. I'm glad we're doing this. I'm also glad that staff took the initiative to kind of look through the zoning code and kind of update some other uses. I think that's a smart way to do that, because eventually we want to update our zoning code, but for right now, this is a good step to kind of, be a little bit more business friendly with the community. So I appreciate the effort to look at some of the other uses and update that now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor Becker?
Just to add on to Councilmember Hoff's comments that, looking at the other permitted uses that you have listed in this ordinance as well. I think it's a very smart move, and also I'd like to thank the planning and economic development group for moving on this rather quickly since our last work session. And I'm sure it's appreciated by everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Depot.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert, did you?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks. Everybody said what I was gonna
All
say.
right, great. I just had one question, Mr. Depot. So, as I read through the list, the uses all make a lot of sense to me. So the question is, in the planning and zoning world, are there standard definitions for all of these? In other words, how, at a future date, with some question of mine, how is there any sort of, is it by interpretation by the zoning director, by the commission? Or is there a definition that exists somewhere?
Best practice is you typically would have a definition specific to a use. We do define several uses in the ordinance, but if it's not listed or not defined, it does fall to the zoning administrator to make that interpretation or determination of the definition. And we use planning practice, other jurisdictions, as well as the dictionary to come up with that definition. As you can do.
Not people still use the dictionary.
I'm sure some people have come up with 15 years,
No doubt.
something that is not included on this list.
Anyone else wish to be heard tonight? All right, thank you. Move on to a vote. This is for introduction. And from here, we'll go on to the planning commission and come back to us at some point in the future. All those in favor of introduction of ordinance number 2024-02, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. And the ordinance is introduced. Thank you.
Yeah.
The third item is introduction of annexation resolution 24-02, 411 Malcolm Drive, Cross Creek Enterprises LLC, annexation number 79, a resolution enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property containing plus or minus 0.6950 acres, contiguous and adjacent to the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of real property located at 411 Malcolm Drive, Westminster, Maryland, 21157. Also identified as tax account number 07-007884, map 0046, grid 0015, parcel 0100, and comprising plus or minus 0.3144 acres and plus or minus 0.3806 acres in state highway administration property containing a portion of Maryland Route 97, Malcolm Drive. Mr. Kipa.
Thank you. Cross Creek Enterprise LLC, the petitioner pursuant to the annotated code of Maryland, has petitioned the mayor and common council of the city of Westminster to annex approximately 0.3144 acres of 411 Malcolm Drive, owned by the petitioner, into the corporate boundaries of the city. In addition, this annexation includes approximately 0.3806 acres of right-of-way owned by the State Highway Administration. This portion of right-of-way is located along Malcolm Drive, abutting the city boundary at 404 Malcolm Drive. This is a property we recently annexed. The annexation area is approximately combined 0.6950 acres and is zoned C2 Commercial Medium Intensity District under the Carroll County zoning ordinance. The petitioner is requesting that the property be zoned B Business Zone under the city's zoning ordinance. This is a comparable zone to the C2. The petitioner is proposing to redevelop the existing building located at 411 Malcolm Drive for retail use, which will require additional water and sewer allocations. Pursuant to the Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan and city's water and sewer allocation policy, property owners of property located outside the city limits but inside the water service area that are eligible for annexation under state law who desire to connect to the city's public water system or require additional allocation must be annexed into the city to be eligible to apply for water allocation. With that, staff recommends that the mayor and common council introduce resolution number 2402 for annexation, allowing the annexation process to begin. Completes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the introduction of annexation resolution 2402.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hawk. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Mr. Hawk and a second by Ms. Gilbert. Is there any discussion? Any questions? For Mr.
I do have a question.
All right, go to the mayor first.
What is currently at that property now?
I understand it was used as an office use. I'm not sure what type of office. It's been vacant. There are building permits submitted by the property owner that are on hold until such time annexation occurs.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hawk.
Mr. Debo, I was wondering, it used to be a real estate office. I know that. I'm familiar with the site. I've been there before. So they're looking to do a retail use. It's an awfully narrow site. I was just curious, what kind of retail use are they looking to do there?
Speculatively, I believe it's more of maybe a tobacco hut type of use at this location. Whether that is the case or not now, it has been some time since we met with the petitioner as to the use, but it would be an allowed use.
But that would have to go through, they would have to submit a site plan. That'll go to planning and zoning, I'm assuming, if they're tearing down the building, or would it be a simplified site plan depending on what they're doing?
Simplified. They're not tearing down the building. They're just doing interior renovations. I believe they have enough parking on site, just in cursory review. So it would be a simplified site plan most likely.
Gotcha. Okay, so it likely would not go to planning and zoning.
Yes.
Commissions. Okay.
Mr.
Mr. Kavach.
So they're gonna need additional water?
Yes. When the office used to retail required by square footage required additional water for that use.
Much.
I'm sorry, I don't recall off the top of my head, but I can get that for you.
But that's a separate discussion.
Yes, yeah, they would not be allocated water until such time they were annexed.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to hear? Any other questions? All right, so this is for introduction only. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and it's fine. The annexation resolution is introduced. All right, and we'll hear more about this.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gilbert.
When we visit that property, and be interested to know what the actual plans are for that building.
Moving on, next item is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business? Hearing none, move on to new business. We have one item of new business. Approval to waive the competitive procurement for good cause under the City of Westminster Code, Chapter 36, Procurement and Contracts, subsection 36-4 specific regulations for port resurfacing at City Park by ATC Corporation in the amount of $66,825. Ms. Murray.
Yes, good evening. The item that you have before you tonight is for the resurfacing of City Park tennis courts, which will create a set of 6 dedicated pickleball courts on one side of the park and 2 full-size tennis courts on the other side of the park, providing a solution that will benefit both user groups. To accommodate future predicted growth in the sport of pickleball, the full-size tennis courts will also have pickleball lines added to them, so that when the tennis courts are not in use for tennis, temporary pickleball nets can be set up. The tennis courts can easily be converted into pickleball courts this way. This would create 10 pickleball courts that can meet the high demand for pickleball programming, such as leagues, lessons, and tournaments. During this process, 3 companies were contacted to provide estimates for the repair and resurfacing of the City Park tennis courts: Mid-Atlantic Tennis Courts, Sports Systems, and ATC Corporation. Mid-Atlantic Tennis Courts never responded to the city's inquiry, and Sports Systems stated they do not work in the Westminster area. However, ATC Corporation responded and provided a reasonable estimate totaling $66,825, which is attached in your council packet. Further research indicates an absence of other qualified firms to complete this highly specialized court repair and resurfacing. Considering these circumstances, the Recreation and Parks Department is requesting to waive the competitive procurement for a good cause and to approve a contract with ATC Corporation. A waiver of the competitive bidding process is being requested for 2 reasons. One, we attempted to obtain quotes from multiple businesses, but only one company, ATC, responded. And 2, the courts are in immediate need of repair, and if the resurfacing is not accomplished this spring, the repairs will have to be postponed until the fall. Funding for this project is allocated in the fiscal year 24 Capital Projects Fund. With that, staff recommends that the mayor and council waive competitive bidding for good cause under subsection 36-4 to repair and resurface the City Park tennis courts.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gruber. So to recap, we attempted to do a competitive bidding process, but we were able to find enough people to make the competition.
Correct.
Right. We have a motion to approve the waiver for competitive procurement. Good cause.
I'll make a motion to approve the waiver.
All right, the motion by Ms. Gilbert. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Hoffman. Is there any discussion or any questions from Ms. Gruber?
Mr. President,
Mr. Kavachi.
how much is budgeted?
The amount that is listed here, $66,825.
So we just happen to budget exactly what the bid came in?
There was a larger project budgeted, which is being offset by grant funding. It's the restroom renovation for City Park. So because our grant exceeded the anticipated amount that we requested, then this amount is available in the Capital Projects Fund.
Mr. Kavachi, if you give me 1 second, I'll verify that. Oh yeah, this was the exact amount, right?
Mr. President.
Ms. Gilbert.
Ms. Gruber, do you have any idea when the work may start? So an idea, and I would assume that we will let lots of people who know way ahead of time when that construction is happening.
Yes, we anticipate starting as soon as we can proceed with signed contracts. They're ready to start in the spring. So
Oh.
the weather breaks.
Okay, all right.
Very good.
I was presented with a question of when that was gonna occur just a couple days ago. But I will update everyone.
So, Mr. President, I'm still confused.
I knew we were.
Yeah,
gonna back.
I couldn't understand how the budgeted amount is exactly what this bid came in at.
It's not a bid, so we are asking the council to waive the competitive bid
I
requirements.
understand that.
We don't believe we're gonna get a better price if we go to bid, and if we do go to bid, we have to wait until the fall
You
to.
got an estimate from ATC, right?
This is an estimate, but it's the amount that they're going to offer us, right?
Correct.
And it is that amount, 80 or 60. 66,825 is what their estimate is.
Which I
And we,
believe is what we used to prepare the budget.
last year,
Yes.
Yes.
okay. That makes more
So
sense.
they're holding it at
Okay,
that.
so you went and got this estimate prior to submitting, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Otherwise, I thought we had some shenanigans going. Okay, good.
Come on now.
I do have one more question.
Right.
Which side is the pickleball courts gonna go on? Closest to Main Street or closest to Willow Street?
Closest to Main Street.
Awesome. It's any noise.
They're closest to Mr. Kavachi.
Not me, my neighbors, you know, I'm hearing from. Yeah.
Understand. All right. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving the waiver, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. And the waiver is. Good, all right. Move on now to departmental reports. Ms. Impulse. Will you do that?
Thank you, sir. As we mentioned at the last council meeting, we had interns from McDaniel for the month of January. And I received some feedback from McDaniel. They interviewed the students. And I wanted to share the following feedback, which was a snippet of a larger conversation. Here's a quote from a student. "My intern supervisor made me feel like my voice mattered." Another student stated, "This internship helped me identify career paths that interest me most and functional areas I may engage with less moving forward." And then the report from McDaniel said that it's not a report, but the feedback I got said, "The emphasis on a supportive, empowering, and developmental environment fostered by the supervisors is a testament to the success of the program." We had department heads who were supervisors for the interns this year, which might not happen in future years, but we tried to move very quickly in an attempt to assist McDaniel. That's a very heavy lift for a department head, and it was a very unique opportunity for those interns to work directly with some department heads. So I just want to thank all of the staff who were involved in that. And it sounds like it was a really great opportunity for the McDaniel students. And we certainly got a lot out of it as well. All right, I won't keep you waiting anymore unless you have any questions about that. We'll move on to the Recreation and Parks Department. Ms. Gruber?
Yes, good evening. Just a report in on pool membership sales. They are going very well. To date, we have sold 122 primary memberships, equaling 516 individual pool passes. Approximately 25% of these memberships are new to the Westminster Municipal Pool and have not been pool members in the past. In comparison to pool membership sales at this time last year, only 52 primary memberships were sold for a total of 213 passes.
It's all about that cat.
I think so. And the only other report I have this evening is to report in on our registration for Celtic Cancer. At this time, we have over 600 registered runners for the Celtic Cancer, and we are light years ahead of our registration benchmark from last year at this time. So we're very excited.
The 0.5K registrations are how they.
I believe that every single one of you is registered today, so they're going very well because we got
Six of us registered.
I was gonna say, we got 6 new registrations.
It's not the 0.1, it is a 0.5, right?
0.5,
I
yeah.
think it was 0.1.
That's like.
Yeah, I know, we do a full lot, okay. It's a rough morning.
Once again.
Absolutely.
Talking about.
Okay, hearing no more questions, we'll move on to the Public Works Department. Mr. Dix.
Thank you, Ms. Ennis. I'll keep it short. We're working on a lot of, early spring maintenance stuff right now. So, spring ponds, we're going through cutting back tree limbs, cleaning garbage out, and all the things that we need to do there. Also taking care of some minor landscaping things. We did, medium one Center Street there by the mall that, we did new stones and we took care of that. The other big thing right now, we're preparing for whatever comes tomorrow morning. Our guys are coming in early in the morning and we'll be ready for whatever news station we listen to, just whatever they want. So that's all my report.
Good job, class.
No, thank you.
Are there any questions for the Public Works? Hearing none, we will move on to the IT Director, Mr. Moore.
Thank you. I'll keep mine short. We've been busy, the normal day to day, getting the budget ready for fiscal year 25. And going through a lot of our back end policies and rules. The security product we use, just tighten some of those up and come up with some more ideas of how we can make this better. So I have the first.
Are there any questions for the IT Department? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Planning Department.
On February the sixth, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved case 2401. It's an application for a special exception conversion dwelling use at 48 West George Street. On the seventh, the Historic District Commission reviewed the proposed demolition of a structure at 30 Carroll Street that's currently in use by Shepherd's staff. They're still looking at the demolition plans and potential development of that site. They also discussed its implementation plan and preparations for the nation's 25th anniversary, the Carroll County History Day, which is February the 24th, and the recruitment of a new commission member, which I believe we're getting close to. On February the 15th, the Planning and Zoning Commission is tentatively scheduled to review the 2023 City of Westminster Planning Annual Report, to introduce a local map amendment, amending the zoning map to rezone parcel F1B. This is north of 842 Littletown Pike. It's the All About You Salon and Barbershop. It's a property just north to that. From the IR Industrial Restricted Zone to the B Business Zone. The intent is that this little property, which very small in nature, would be used for parking for potential redevelopment of the All About You Salon site. There's a planning for Dunkin' Donuts at that location. And also they are discussing the Planning and Zoning Commission's policies and procedures. I also want to point out the city was awarded the Facade Improvement Program grant of $50,000 from the Department of Housing and Community Development. This is intended to assist downtown businesses while improving the outside appearances of businesses, the buildings and facades and facilities. And that completes my report.
Who's your host?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, is that a grant program or is it a loan?
A grant program, 50,000. So it's a matching, whatever the applicant puts into the property, we match that out of that 50,000 until it's exhausted. A lot of those funds are already accounted for through projects already occurring downtown or have been approved for downtown.
We used to have a revolving loan program for facade improvements. I guess it's been, so, and the Westminster Town Center Corporation actually administered those funds. I guess it's
100 years.
It's been a couple of years. But anyway, I'm wondering if it's worth looking at that again and seeing if it's fine. I mean, it was a good program. A lot of people used it back. Wondering if we should, if it's worth exploring.
We can look into that. That was a little bit before my time, I believe.
And a couple predecessors. probably.
Yes. We still have the tax credit program too, in case anybody's listening, that for any work downtown or an historic building or property can receive tax credits not only from the city, but from the state as well.
Mr. President, what's the cap on that program, the side? It doesn't maximum, right?
There is no, it's a minimum. You have to, it has to be over $5,000 being spent for improvement. There is no maximum. Not that I'm aware of.
But we've only got $50,000.
Yes.
And when that's gone, that's it.
That's going until next year. This is every year we request money. We asked for 100,000 this year, which was what we budgeted for, but unfortunately we only received 50,000.
Any more questions for Mr. Depot? Hearing none, we'll move on to the finance department.
Thank you,
Ms.
Thank you, Ms. Inhofe. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Finance has been partnering with information technology to evaluate a new ERP system for the city. We are going to be pleased to make some recommendations in the very near future. We've been happy with several of the programs that we've seen. As President Pecoraro already mentioned, we are very deep into the fiscal 25 budget planning process and look forward to presenting that budget in the near future. That's the end of my report.
Are there any questions for the finance department? Hearing none, we will move on to the housing department. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to take this opportunity to update the mayor and council on our efforts to clean up our waiting list. Last week, we sent out, I think it was last Thursday and Friday, we sent out over 800 letters to people on our waiting list. Some of them have already started to respond. So at the end of this, they have until March 8th to respond to us. If they do not respond by that time, then we take them off the list and then we'll start with a new group. So I have to.
Are there any questions for Mr. Brown?
Mr. President, what was the letter? What did it say?
Get back to us if you're still interested. Let's know what the letter said.
The letter just basically tells them you've been on the waiting list. That if anything has changed, let us know. Do you still want to be on the waiting list and still want us to try to house you, then let us know. If we do not hear back from them by March 8th, then they automatically come off the list. And the letter tells them that as well. Thanks.
Ms. Inhofe, or Mr. President. Mr. Brown, is there any exceptions to reasons people may not respond to you in that 2 or 3 week time? Say they were in the hospital, in a nursing home, et cetera, but they're on the waiting list. Will there be exceptions for that? Just in case the people would not.
If there are extenuating circumstances that they were not able to respond, then we'll take that into consideration.
So it would seem to me that by the very nature of the fact that these folks are on a list like this, that their housing situation is in flux. So how do we know that we've got a good address for folks? I mean, they have an obligation to keep you apprised of what their current address is. Is it going to remain on the list, or I mean, how does that work?
They have an obligation to let us know if their address changes. Sometimes they change without letting us know. Mail will come back to us either undelivered or with a forwarding address. If there's a forwarding address, then we will send it to the forwarding to that particular address. There are people who, like, we got a couple of calls today, people say, well, just take me off because I've already found places to live otherwhere, so I no longer need to be on your list. So we'll have that, but we try to take into consideration that if they haven't, let us know that they changed the address and we get a forwarding address back, we'll send it to the new address. If it's undeliverable, that we have no way of getting in touch with them.
I guess in general, electronic delivery is not usually an option.
No.
Thank you.
Hearing no further questions, we'll move on to the police department. Chief Ledwell?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just 2 short things. A reminder that we sent out a save the date for April 24th for our annual awards ceremony. We'll be holding that at the Best Western. And we received a nice email today from the Carroll County Public School Coordinator of School Security, Brian Elliott, letting us know what a great job our property specialist, Will Parks, was doing coordinating our school access card process with him. It's good to receive that feedback. That's all I have. Let's see if any questions.
Are there any questions for the chief? That concludes the departmental reports.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Inhofe. That takes us to our final item, which is citizens' comments. We invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issue pertaining to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. For citizens not attending the public meeting, we invite you to send us your comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received by email will be shared with the mayor and council. We ask the commenters, please include their address and phone number with their comments that are sent by email. We'll now invite comments from anyone who is present here this evening. This is an opportunity for the public to share their thoughts and concerns with the mayor and council. Our role at this point is to listen to the comments and respond as appropriate after consultation with staff and each other. We ask everyone to please be brief and keep your remarks to 3 minutes. Now, is there anyone with us tonight who wishes to be heard? Please give us your name and address for the record. Would like to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
Michelle Jefferson, 416 Sycamore Avenue, Westminster 57. Most of the folks here are my neighbors. I would like to let most of them speak. You have a letter that we got from me this afternoon. It is from the Annapolis delegation. And I'm not real thrilled about a tobacco shop. Now, there's another piece of property that is being annexed by the city by you introduced tonight. That's on the other end of Old Baltimore. Guys need to stop coming in on us like this. We can't, I'm tired of every time we turn around, we're finding out something different is coming and nobody has told us. So please, we need to have a discussion about the properties being developed and annexed through the city, whether they are being annexed by the people who own them or encouraged by you guys to be annexed. We're trapped like rats. And we're not thrilled about it. So these folks here tonight are gonna give it to you in their words. You already know how I feel. So please, folks, take time, 3 minutes.
All right, who else would like to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Emily Fox. I live at 504 Lewis Avenue in Westminster, Maryland, 57. Members of the council, you have received a letter from myself, we'll probably hear from later. I wanted to express my concerns at the behavior that's been shared with us as neighbors to the city of Westminster. As was previously stated, three neighbors were being entrapped by a lot of the decisions that this panel, this council was making. One of our primary concerns is the safety that some of these new development opportunities, even though they are within zoning, even though that there have been a lot of decisions that have been made, but we're not being informed of them, and that there's no consideration being made for the historic area that we live in. My house was built in 1927. I am the victim of a car accident. I'm sorry, I'm a little shaky right now. But the amount of traffic that my street gets since the pandemic has been lifted, and since the Stonegate development has gone in on the other side, has severely impacted my ability to garden, which I find very relaxing. And that helps with a lot of the nerve pain that I experienced as a result of that accident more than 2 years ago. I'm still in ongoing treatment for it. So the prospect of a fast food restaurant or any other kind of significant traffic turnover coming through my neighborhood, coming through my streets, is a threat to me and my ability to maintain a good quality of life as much as I can. So I would implore you to reconsider what kinds of development go on at either end of Old Baltimore, on either side of the Tree Street community, to consider the families that live here, the elderly that we take care of, such as our neighbor. She lives by herself and she doesn't have a lot of means, but we do what we can to help her out. So just take that under consideration, reach out to us. We're listening and we want to have conversations with you. We have ideas for how we can help make Westminster better, because we're part of this community, whether or not we're zoned in it or we're part of the county. We're right next door and we're available.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Is it-
can I clarify for the record, did you say you're at 504 Locust?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christine Kraut. I've been a resident of Buckingham View for 42 years. My second home in this neighborhood is located at the corner of Old Baltimore Road and Willow Avenue. Old Baltimore Road serves as a school bus route. Your children are picked up and dropped off 3 times a day. Adding any business such as a fast food restaurant, which is estimated to bring upwards of 3,000 plus new cars into that neighborhood, is a real risk to our smallest pedestrians. We have no sidewalks. We've got narrow avenues. And already the highway traffic shortcuts through Old Baltimore and our tree streets to avoid the 2 traffic lights on 140 and 97 when reaching a Westminster Pike. We do have children, there are people there, and we just ask for a little consideration when large traffic projects are being considered for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I didn't catch the address for that, I'm sorry.
503 Willow Avenue.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Sartorius, and I am a resident of 527 Willow Avenue. Before I get started, I would like to just take a moment. I see many familiar faces here from our neighborhood. Can you all stand in support to show if you're here to discuss opposition? I know you will not be hearing, I don't believe, from all of these voices tonight, but we just wanted to show our support, and many of us share the same feelings. So thank you. I made a statement so that I could try to keep things brief. So I'll read from that. As a neighbor of the Tree Streets, I would like to express my opposition to a fast food restaurant with a drive-through at Old Baltimore Road and Route 140 in Westminster. I share the same concerns that my neighbors are expressing this evening, with 2 of the largest being centered around safety concerns due to the specific location and traffic impact with additional harm to our neighborhood. There are already at least 15 fast food type establishments with drive-throughs in our city that I was able to identify, with at least 7 of the 15 drive-through establishments being within 1 mile of our neighborhood streets. We can do better for our city to support our neighborhood and to support the city's stated mission of community development by promoting activities and events in the city of Westminster to increase tourism to the community. I've attended many of the city's events, such as the Oyster Stroll Fall Festival, Flower and Jazz Festival. These events are enjoyable, safe, well organized, and highlight our local businesses. While I realize that all business and community partnerships, even with larger chains and companies, are valuable, it is events like these that highlight the unique spirit of our community and local businesses in our state and draw attention. Many of these small businesses are sprinkled throughout our downtown area, and in the spirit of that, it would be great to see more local businesses along Route 140 and near our neighborhood. A bakery or bagel shop similar to our beloved Rare Opportunity Bakehouse or Genie Bird would be a welcome addition to the parcel of land that is in question near our neighborhood. A coffee house or bistro would also be a welcome addition. It would be great to support local agritourism with a farm to table type restaurant or bistro, even a pop-up farmer's market. Other cities in Maryland offer pop-up or test kitchens for local makers testing the market. It's a unique opportunity for the city to promote and support invested residents in our community. For the city and county to continue forward progress and enhance growth and development, there needs to be supportive relationships fostered with residents, both current and prospective. We are a small, unique community surrounded by some newer and larger developments and commercial property, and we are not simply asking, but we are begging to proceed with mindfulness and caution over dollar signs with additional commercial and business development in our area. It seems our neighbors have been stuck playing defense for far too long, with additional residential and commercial developments around us that have caused significant harm and danger to our streets with traffic and some ill-suited development without alleviation or appropriate considerations for our neighbors. So we need your support. Mindful and thoughtful decisions need to be made about better suited businesses and better usage for our neighborhood, with a desired opportunity to keep our local and more neighbor friendly, or at the very least, a business that will not draw so much additional thoroughfare traffic and create additional safety issues. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kristen Aldrich. I live at 524 Willow Avenue, Westminster, Maryland. 6 months meeting. So about 6 years ago, I was in front of the same council, begging them to not let a Harris Teeter building in front of our neighborhood. on concerns of traffic and crime and increased stuff. And at the time, I was pregnant with my daughter. And it's fitting that she's here with us today to further protest this potential Chick-fil-A restaurant coming into our neighborhood. We have extreme amounts of concern regarding traffic. Our neighborhood is small, it's wonderful. The traffic has gotten a little bit worse since the pandemic. But overall, it's a wonderful place to raise a child. It's safe for her to be in the front yard, it's safe for her to be in the backyard. It's not crazy noisy. You can see the stars at night. I worry that this restaurant coming in, bringing 3,000 cars a day. Can you imagine the traffic? Would you want that traffic in your neighborhood? Would you want the potential crime that could bring into your neighborhood? No one wants that. And also our home values. I worry about that the traffic would do to our home values. They're gonna tank. So it'd be so unfair. Please put that down. I would like the city to consider its members, the people who live in that neighborhood. And consider that we don't want a giant fast food restaurant there. We want something small if something goes in there. Something that's not gonna harm our community. But thank you for the chance to talk.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name's Bo Mann. I live at 740 Old Baltimore Road, directly across from the one and only proposed entrance to the Chick-fil-A. Yeah, I'm here today to voice my concern over the Chick-fil-A being built across the street from my home. Along with my fellow neighbors, I feel as though our streets are already overran with traffic. We've long been used as a cut through. The old Westminster Pike, like they stated earlier, I mean, they're avoiding 2 red lights on 140. It's already extremely difficult getting in and out of my own driveway. And when I do get in and out of my own driveway, there's normally somebody whipping around and honking. I just feel like that and an additional 3,000 cars every day directly across from my own driveway, and how am I supposed to even get to my home? Yeah, I mean, I have a 3-year-old son. He's just not allowed in the front yard already, so this more traffic is just a terrible idea for a small community.
Anyone else?
Steve Rass, I live at 733 Old Baltimore Road. And my driveway with the plans that I've seen, my driveway comes right out to where I'm not even clear if it'll be a roundabout or an intersection, or if there will be a light there. But that is right where, like, right as you come out of there, I'm gonna be dealing with all the traffic that goes into that business and out of that business. I would like to see some action taken. Some backup, some help, fighting this any way you can. I don't think it's really gonna be conducive living somewhere where I'm gonna have to deal with lights, noise. It's already a risk to my life to check my mail. I know that sounds a little excessive, but my mailbox is across the street, and I have to be very careful when I go to check just the mail. So I can't really see 3,000 cars a day being any help to that. And I'm not sure this proposed Market Street, if the city's even in charge of that, or if that's a county project. But I mean, I'd like to see if there's anything in the budget to put up barriers for sound with that street market, this proposed Market Street going up, barriers for sound. And maybe even end capping Baltimore Road.
No, not after without the way the polls went down.
Well, for it. Anything helps. Please do something to save our community.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
I'm Nathaniel Burton at 504 Locust Ave. Emily, my wife, spoke earlier. We are in agreement with our neighbors here in opposition to the Chick-fil-A going in there. We're not in disagreement entirely about any development going in, but as Jenny mentioned, we want something that's suited for the community, but we also need the traffic problems with this. The traffic with Stonegate has just gone up and up, and as they expanded that community, we're on Locust Ave, the second street in from Old Baltimore, so we get all of the traffic of all those cars cutting from Stonegate and other areas off of Westminster down our street to get to 140, as well as all of that traffic going down all Baltimore, because it's just 50 feet away from our project. We are going to be petitioning the county for a traffic calming study in our neighborhood. We've already received over a dozen signatures from residents of our street. We think that's long overdue. The last numbers I can find were from 2011, where our street already had 1,500 cars a day. I got to imagine that number is double or triple or even worse than that today. And imagining 3,000 cars from Chick-fil-A, that's a line almost 8 miles long from where that is, all the way past Bowers Orchard. If you were to line up 3,000 cars a day. Our neighborhood is not the appropriate location for that specific development. It will do more harm to our neighborhood and the community as a whole, putting it in that location than other potential alternatives. We would like to express our opposition to that and work with you to come up with solutions and help solve some of the outstanding issues that we've already faced. Thank you.
Thank you. Another.
My name is Aaron Stover. I live on 538 Locust Avenue, so we're on the other end of it. We kind of live right over the crest of the hill, so it's already dangerous during the day to try to pull out. These aren't people that are just driving through the neighborhood to get to their houses on the street. There's people that are driving through to cut through, and they don't obey by the speed limit. They're driving dangerously, so it's not only are we adding more traffic, we're adding more traffic to people that don't really care about our day to day, right? They're there to get their Chick-fil-A sandwich and that's the end of it. We've got a 2-year daughter, as you probably all heard it tonight. And it's scary. It's scary to have her just getting out of the car already. And we're talking about adding a ton of traffic. So I think it'd be important to do traffic studies before any decisions were made to look into speed humps to see if there's alternate routes. Again, I just implore you guys to really do the due diligence. I think it's great for our community to put businesses like Chick-fil-A in. I think their business model is good. I think it's good for our community to have that type of business ownership, but not there.
Thank you.
I'd like to also speak. I'm his wife, Akila Stover, 538 Lucas Avenue as well. We just moved there last 2022, 2 years ago, and one of my biggest things when we were looking to buy a house was not to be on a busy street. That was my biggest thing. Like, we want to have kids, we want to have a family, we expect to stay here for a good minute, you know? So for the potential of a Chick-fil-A or something of that high volume nature is just not going to do it for me. We have, like I said, our daughter, we have our dog, who's a very well trained lad that we allow out in front with us to do our different things, and he stays right by our side. And there's been so many times that he has been like, I just get scared for her. I'll turn away for 1 second if she's up at the street, or when I've driven into my driveway to just back in, I'm taking up a good half of the road, sure, but people are literally so close to hitting me. And like I said, we've been there for 2 years and they're already having these issues. So I could not imagine having 3,000 plus cars. Texas Roadhouse is about to do a huge remodel and take over, what's this name called? Where Caples is, down on 140. So they're gonna apparently take that entire hill out, move down Texas Roadhouse. Why can't they take over Texas Roadhouse's location? I feel like that'd be a lot better. So then, yes, they don't have the issue with the traffic violation that they have at Chick-fil-A currently. They can be up on the hill, it's still close to 140. If they wanna move, they can move there. They don't have to move into our neighborhood. There's different alternatives of where they could go. Our neighborhood just is not, it's not safe.
Susan Reichenbach, 519 Willow Avenue. I just want to say, we moved into our house in 2003. And I remember saying to my sister, it's like living in Mayberry, RFP. Kids were out on their bikes. My son could play lacrosse in the street with his friends. And now, you know, these are my neighbors across the street. It's scary with the people that cut through there. They don't obey the 25 speed limit. The other thing with ingress and egress coming off of what is now going to be Market Street, but in fact is Old Baltimore Road, is when the light turns red for 140, and I know there could be different traffic patterns, But at this point, traffic gets backed up. People coming out of Truist are stuck there. They're, worming their way in and out. So I agree, a traffic study definitely needs to be conducted.
Thank you.
William White at 523 Willow. Seems like Willow Avenue is well represented. Susan said my boys used to play on the street where I live. The house has been in the family since the mid-60s. And we've been there for 20 couple of years. Some of the things I haven't heard was like the amount of trash that's going to be brought into the people with their families. They're gonna throw it out the window. That's what they do. But the other thing, because our streets are so straight and you can almost see from one end to the other, they make nice drag strips. And no offense, when I called law enforcement, which wasn't the city, they weren't willing to do anything till a child got hit. I called. And they said, we can't do anything until something happens. I said, well, what if I'm like Otis from Mayberry and throw rocks at cars? Well, I wouldn't suggest that, but and I get it, but we're having a hard time getting control with where we're at. Now we're adding more cars and just more stuff. That'll be more out of control. So, thank you.
Thank you. What else? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. It was very interesting to hear all this, and we appreciate you all taking the time to come and share these concerns with us. There's nothing really happening here, and so we need to probably make sure any actions are taken, or any events that occur will be well publicized. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Mr. President. Get in touch and get in touch with me or any of the other ones that have emailed you guys, and we can disseminate the information.
Right. Well, that concludes our agenda and the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, February 26th. Without objection.
Thank you.
Next time, maybe.